they're preparing them with a backward idea of your expiry date is coming, you will soon be an adult.
The biggest differentiation of bringing up those children in what we are calling the West.
And we just said...
We even found that they are dating.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. How'd you do that? Yeah.
Amazing conversations about what we need to do to put each age group in the driving seat. So we have gone through this conversation for 10-year-olds, and what came up very clearly is we need to teach them the value of money. For more of these conversations, please join us on April 27th as we have a nationwide conversation on matters money and go deep into what is going to be discussed here today. Now let's move on to what does it take, what does it look like to put a teenager up until the age of 20 in the driving seat? What does that look like? Robert?
Yeah, so for teenagers, we need to bring the money skills, and they have to be as simple as possible. So you just need to know the basics of maths, like addition, subtraction, multiplication. So they have to see that. And something that I see that they need to really build on is interpersonal and social skills, to be able to work with teams, to be able to work with other people. Because I've seen that, like the good example that was shared, that the people who are educated and they're complaining, they're saying there are no jobs. And you see the name, someone says they're in Starehe, and some of us were like, wow, I wish I was in Starehe. So it's good to build those social capital. It's part of the wealth journey, the networks that you build at that age, and skills to get what you want. If it is scholarship, if it is going to university or college, you need to have that information upfront. So information is usually supposed to be had upfront, so that when the opportunities come, you are better prepared. Whether it is applying for help, scholarship, how to create value or areas of interest. So they need to develop that. And for the tools, it's just good for them to help to open the accounts and get started. Like when they start at that point in time, then it will become just part of them as they get into university. I remember my first bank account was actually because I needed to get help. So that's an unfortunate situation. I should have had it before. And then there's where you'll become keen on spending, because it is your own money. When you go to the supermarket, you have a connection that this money of mine, like you've said before, if it is mine, I'll tend to think of growing it, But if it's just from an uncle, an aunt, or dad or mom, I'll always think of how to get more of it, and I'll get 1,001 ideas on what I can do with my friends. So it's just important to start those. And one thing that I want to mention is that given that now we are in the digital age, there's that bias of a lot of tools that are there. So you really have to start mentioning those tools, because there are those tools that will tend to take away from them, and they can get into them at the wrong age. But again, they are good tools. If possible, in my opinion, if they can be doing things where they can go to the branches physically, just try to bring that element. And then that guidance will always tell them that even for financial services, relationship is key. Because if you're always digital, sometimes people forget that the best investors, they look for Pius. It's good to bring that element that there's someone who is an expert in a financial services company, so that they start making that connection. So digital is for convenience, but it should not be such that I hear some people saying that if they don't have an app, if they don't have this and that, I'll never invest in them. But that is not really the essence. Digital is just for convenience, but investing is bigger than digital or not. So that guidance needs to be put, and try to put them in apps where they can make money, like if they're money market funds, if they're circles, whatever can work for young people. And I've seen that several money market funds currently actually cater for young people. So they're actually in a very good position.
Yeah, absolutely. And the responsibility, again, shifts. There's the learner, the teenage learner, but then there's the parent, and at school, the teacher. So the conversation on how to empower with this teenager with education would need to come from both. It would be. great, or whichever products or programs they are in the market. One of the things that, maybe just to share one of the things that I explored and really worked very well during COVID was to take a group of teenagers through, and it helped because everybody was at home, they had the time, and the parents were looking to get these children to learn. And I got a group of teenagers and took them through an investment class on Zoom. From zero, just understanding what investments are, what is a stock, different stocks around the stock markets around the world, what triggers the movements of stocks. And that time I remember Donald Trump was running for office for re-election. And they were between the age of 14 and 17. And I remember they would write texts to me, even at night, and say, oh, this announcement has just been made by the president, and because of that, my stock has sunk. Yeah. What I find in the teenage years is they have the capacity and the ability to start learning. But unless they're given that information, they will continue consuming whatever it is they're consuming. So we need to be deliberate about what are we bringing into their spaces. The program was quite an eye-opener for me because they were actually trading like fictional money, 100,000. It was actually $100,000. But the thought process that they had been taught and the decisions they were making to either buy, hold, or sell, or to shift from one market to another, that whole process was working with only 3 months of knowledge. 3 months is just 2 hours a day, every other day, or something like that. What that showed me was the capacity is there, the content is somewhere, but the content has not reached the recipient, and it now needs to get to the recipient, right?
Can I say something about teenagers? I think when you compare our teenagers as Africa with teenagers around the rest of the world, we are seriously in trouble. If you go to, we had the opportunity to live abroad, and we were pastors then. And so we ended up pastoring a lot of Kenyan kids. And kids, I'm talking about 20-year-olds. People had been sent, the Kenyan thing, we fundraise, send them with one-time fees, and then hopefully they'll make it out there. What was so obvious to us was how woefully unprepared Kenyans are for global exposure. Because by the time you're 18, you finished high school, maybe you've even done a year or two of college here, you've never opened an account, never had a debit card, never had a checkbook, never had an investment, and you've never paid rent. So Americans tend to have an expiry date for how long you're in the house. And all American friends, by the time you're 18, you are now supposed to pay bills. So if you're still in my house, you're paying your way, because now I'm treating you like an adult. It looked actually very harsh. We've got friends whose kids work at 20, 21. They're still in the house because they're in college, but they're doing a night job. And when we go there and visit, it looks like they tell us we have child labor in Africa. We have no idea what they do with their children. But it's because they're preparing them with a backward idea of your expiry date is coming, you will soon be an adult. If we could change our perspective on our teenagers and say, by 18, you really should be able to handle yourself financially. So I have a very short time with you. You see, for us, we're thinking at 25, you'll still be in the house. At 30, you'll still be in the house. We don't have that idea of, I'm preparing you to launch you. And I feel like that's the thing. That mentality will help us do what Robert is saying, because some of those important skills in teenage include social skills. I need to teach you how to make the right friends. I need to teach you how to add value to those friends. I need to teach you how to work with them to produce. So they're taught to run little businesses for themselves in the holidays. So I feel like there's some intentionality there we must have to bring up our teenagers. It's a very critical age.
And just to add one thing, on the age, we actually guided that you should try as much as possible to get these skills by age 13, 14 there. Mm-hmm. And we actually have cases where parents are trying, but it's almost too late.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
Warren Buffett started investing at age 11.
Wow.
And he still thinks that he started too late.
Wow.
Investment is all about compounding.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if somebody started compounding at age 11, and here we are in our 40s, figuring out how to start an investment account. You can never catch up.
Yeah.
And if you look at the top richest men or people in the world, Warren Buffett has been the most consistent because he had an early start. And there's something beautiful about investing at that age. You do not have to be an expert in production because you are partnering with experts in production.
Yeah.
So if you buy Safaricom shares, you are partnering with Vodafone, who are experts in telecom business.
Absolutely.
If you're buying Amazon shares, you're partnering with Jeff Bezos. They like, so you remove the weight of production from self, but you get to learn how value is created. So I think that's a soft introduction to production.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, we must look at the level of financial literacy that is there in this country.
Yeah.
So that we start from what I would think is a basic level. And what I think is lacking is financial planning. And financial planning at that level, even if it's at age 11, is to ensure people that are able to identify what their financial needs and what are the sources of the money they are looking for. And to know that money is worked for. It does not fall down from trees. And hence, when you start from there, you will be able to look at these are the needs, these are financial needs, these are the sources, and they'll be able to prioritize that list. Because that's the basic, to start them putting to them that not everything I need that I'll get. And I'll need to ensure to know exactly whether this is what I need or this is a wish list. And then from there, they have then to appreciate that whatever, where am I getting it from? Is it from my parents, my elder siblings? And to know even them, they have also their own limitations. And we start from that basic level to ensure that you build them up. I remember, if I can share a story, and I was 10 then, when my father passed away. And those are many years, when he told me that, I'm dying, and you only drop out of school if you don't work hard in this farm. I don't get your money for fees from anywhere else. And it turned on me now. He was unwell for some time, and we had some tea, and I would, maybe by then my elder siblings were out of home, and then I was the only little person who would be able to calculate how much money people have picked tea, and then we pay them. And I noted after that, I'm talking about that empowerment is very important. And then I realized, even if now I have my personal needs, like buying my few things, then money is finished from the source. And I tell my own mother to give me a small portion to plant peace. That's a way of empowering, telling these people everything is not available, but they must have a priority, know where the sources of money are, and always keep on prioritizing and prioritizing again and again. Because we are at a very low level, like was have said. And the issue is what happens with these people when they go out, they start eating in hotels, but after some time the money runs out because they have not been used to working hard and putting food on the table for themselves and meeting their own personal needs. Because like the age he has put of 25, everybody has put it there. So we might need to ensure that we give them the basic skills of managing their lives. Yes.
What I'm liking about this conversation, it's educating me as well. Like I said, I'm here as the one who had all the odds of not making it. When I listen to the two conversations, Dr. you've had and Pastor Muriithi you've had, and I look at the difference, because I've only been out of this country for a year and a half with the children, and my children are between the age of 8 and 10. the biggest differentiation of bringing up those children in what we are calling the West is that because here in Kenya, we have so much access to help and everything, whereas in Europe or anywhere else, you're forced as a family to figure out how to support each other. Mm-hmm. So then we have been forced to delegate or bring them on the table in terms of making decisions. So the skills I see them learning, and every time I think this life is hard, because it's hard, I tell myself it is not for you, Kendi, it is for these children. They do meal plans, for example, because we rotate in terms of meal plans. And doing a meal plan is that you're in charge of, say, breakfast on Saturday, figure out what the full family needs to have, figure out how much it costs, figure out, do the budgeting for it, figure out where that money is coming from. And if we don't have, and this is the budget within which, and I see them working together. And they work together in a way that they are checking to see, can we afford this? Should we drop one thing or the other? And I listen to the conversation. Now, if we can adopt, again, back to mindset, if we can adopt that similar way of doing, and I'm not saying, I'm still living it, so I'm not saying if it works or not, but for sure I can see it's different from what I would have done if I was here, because here I would have done the budgeting and sent someone to go and do the shopping, and it would come and somehow food would be in the kitchen and would not know how the food came by. But if we can bring that aspect of forcing the children as they grow, and you've had, they're young, they're 8 to 11, yes, turning maybe 9 to 11 this year. They're forced in those conversations where they have to critically think, and as they go on, and then as we've said, money skills are life skills. So it goes beyond just money decisions and all of that. Yeah, so there is a balance, I think, which we can bring then to our country, we can bring to our continent, which marries to what your father tells you. If you don't work this farm, you will not go to school. Then it brings a practical bit of this was what must be done for life to be lived.
I think I have a problem with what do you call that? With our Kenyan parents, and he alluded to it. Pius alluded to it in that he said that growing up we went through very difficult times, very challenging times, and so we want to spare our children from going through that. And everything I have had over here has had to deal with scarcity. You know how Dr. Mercy's father passed on, and she just had to stand up and just get with it. But here the problem, and then in your case, you don't have the support systems. There's a scarcity. You don't have the support systems that are here in Kenya. And so what I feel for us as parents, Kenyan parents, we definitely need to create what we had talked about earlier, artificial scarcity. We definitely have to. Send them in on holiday.
Yeah. During the children's holiday.
Yeah. Let them do that. Don't give them enough pocket money. So our son went to boarding, and we're like, we are only giving you this amount of money. You deal with it. And it wasn't, of course, his needs were way more than, but you see, we've paid for you have a bed and you have food. So I don't know what the rest is for. So his needs were a lot higher than that. And we just said,
we even funded their dating.
Yeah. A lot. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So you know what the young man did? He quickly discovered that all those kids didn't know how to wash clothes. They didn't know. So he came up with a laundry list. Yes. He became the man who washes clothes for his peers.
For money.
For money.
So he had too much money. We had to have conversations.
Yeah. But I tell you, if my siblings had that we had done that, they'll think we're cruel. Yeah, we're cruel parents. So this whole thing of creating that scarcity. Artificial scarcity is something that you do as a parent and with the end game in mind, because you know that you're not going to be supported. Yeah.
Right. Amazing. And there's so much we can do with these teenagers of ours, not yet emerging adults, because we're getting into the emerging adults. So again, this conversation and a lot more is going to be we'll go deep in it on the 27th of April please join us. Moving on to the next age group, the 20s. Now they've mostly gotten out of home, no parents, no guardians. They're starting to earn their own. And they are, we appreciate the teenagers who are earning. But at that point, when they're earning during teens, they are allowed mistakes here and there. But now 20 to 29, 20 to 30, and I work a lot with this age group. I must say that I appreciate that there's a difference between a 20 to 23, 4-year-old and a 26, 7, 8, 9-year-old. Their realities are different. But anyway, let's just put them together. What's critical? How do they get onto this driver's seat and hang in there? And as we answer this question, we need to appreciate that this is most of Kenya or Africa. So this one, maybe we give it some time and thoughts. All right? What should the 20x-year-old be exposed to, do on their own, be equipped with to be able to sit firm and confidently on that driving seat? Wow, what an amazing conversation here today. And so much more is going to follow in the month of April. So, see you all in the month of April at
the Financial Literacy Summit.